welcome to the Retirement Railroad. Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve, and today is episode 11 of Building Chicago. Now we're going to jump away from the background buildings and from the infrastructure, and we're going to jump right into Union Station. Now the Walters Union Station kit was the first kit I bought back over 2.5 years ago when I started the Retirement Railroad, because I knew I wanted Union Station. Right? And it has been sitting, waiting its turn to be built. And we've done a lot of the infrastructure for it, the lighting, the support structure, the Grand Hall, etc. Now it's time to start with the kit. All right. So what I've done is I've taken all the exterior walls and I put a coat of gray Rust-Oleum primer on it. Walters kits, the plastic is typically not dense enough or thin, and will allow light to bleed, bright light to bleed through. So I typically go ahead and I coat the inside of all the Walters kit walls in a gray primer. Now the gray I had on hand is a little darker than what I wanted, so I came back and put a lighter shade of gray over the top of that. All right. So it's all primed and ready to go on the inside. The next thing I went and did so far is I went ahead and I painted all of the pieces. Now I've got kind of a concrete, which is a brownish gray for the concrete base here, followed by white masonry highlights. Now one of the things, I got tired of masking a long time ago, and I'm not real good at freehanding. What I learned a long time ago is I can take my knife or a dental pick, a dental tool, such as one of these, and I can come through and clean these up really easy. All right, and let me switch cameras and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here we are. All right, and if I give you a close-up look at one of these, you can notice how right in there, it's not a good clean line. So give me a second and I'll clean that up. And there you go. Nice clean line. Okay? Simple as that. So I've done that. That was the last piece I had to do. And the next order of business will be to do our latex caulk and do our mortar lines for the masonry. All right? So hang tight. Okay, so here we are with two pieces. One that has had the quick seal caulk, latex caulk, rubbed in to the masonry lines, the mortar lines, and one without. So you can clearly, even on video, see the differences here. Hang tight, I'll get the rest of her done. Alright, now we have all the mortar done on all the pieces. Next step is to some minor cleanup on here. But really the next step is to clean all the gluing surfaces. As an example, along the edge here, alright, where the windows go, where the base goes, where the roof line is. And to do that, there's a number of different ways that can be done. Again, X-Actos work good by just kind of scraping to clean some of the surfaces. Okay, and for these window surfaces, it works pretty good. Okay. Other way is a nail emery board. Okay, and simply run across it. And this works great for the windows. Alright, so with the exception of some light weathering at the end, all the pieces are now painted and almost ready to be assembled. Walter's window glazings, framings and such are pretty cool. I don't drop them on the floor. The one issue I have, and it's not an issue for most buildings, but for this building, since it's got a lot of windows and skylights, and the interior is going to be completed, the glazing or windows supplied glued onto the backs of the framing wouldn't look right. Okay? Now normally, in my other buildings, I'd just dull coat them, put lights in, and you wouldn't be able to look inside of the building. But this building is the exception. This building is the focal point of the layout, and with views going into the station. So I don't want to use these thick plastic windows. Now I've used some other glazing in the past, and what I'm going to do again, I save whenever I do a transparency. For instance, this one here, you can see it's been cut away. This is from the opening from the grand hall of Union Station out to the mezzanine. Alright, and this was one of the prototypes. This isn't the one I'm actually using. But it's been cut away from that sheet. But I saved those sheets because you never know when I'm going to use them. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to apply glue or solvent to the framing and put them onto this sheet of acetate. Now, I haven't done it this way before, so this is kind of a new process. We're going to see how it works out. All right. So with that, hang tight and we'll get after it. So we've had These weighted down, ample time to cure. Well, let's see what we got. Next up, what I want to do is take a nice sharp razor knife and cut all these out. All right. Just go down between them. That first screw, we're going to go ahead and use these up, get them out of the way, and go from there. All right. It's important on this to apply it not to the frame, but to the building section. Help keep all right, so I got some sheet styrene in, and for a lot of things I just use for sale sign. All right, but for sale signs are real thin, and what I needed the styrene for is to match the thickness of the base of Union Station. Okay, I'll show you what I mean here in a second. But I went ahead and got 0.06 of an inch, which is roughly 1/16, 1/32, whatever. And this matches. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken a couple sheets of that. I got 5 sheets, and I've taken a couple sheets, and let's swing on over to Union Station. So here you have it. I've taken 2 sheets, one for this side, one for that side, and cut it out so that it fits inside this base of the Walters Union Station kit. And that gives it about the same height, all right, same thickness. I can't tell the difference. Okay. The next thing I had to do was then I had to cut out the inside. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scribe into this styrene squares and rectangles to represent slabs of marble that the floor is made of at Union Station. And what that'll do is it will, once I have this painted to match the base, and scribe, then I can add line wash, aka taco sauce, into it, and it won't, these divides between the base and the styrene won't be as readily evident, since there'll be, hopefully will come across looking like squares of marble. So that's the next task at hand. And we'll get after that. Okay, so now you can see how I've done the panel wash lines to highlight the tiles. And what that does is it camouflages the base, which you don't really see anymore because it's blended in with the solid styrene panels. Okay. And I've also added the railings around. And you will notice along some of these areas a line. Well, that is where the bottom base and the upper board join together. And once the union station's complete, there's people, etc., you're not going to notice that unless you're actually looking for it. So I'm not real concerned with that. You can't see it in this picture. Let's adjust this camera just a tad. All right. You can see the wires coming up, and they've come up through the column. All right, and they'll attach to here, which is a strip of masonite with 2 copper pieces of tape. This is the power supply, and this is where the 4 chandeliers will connect up to light the interior. All right. So the next stage is to add some details down here. I'm going to use some angled angled styrene strips, and make some benches to go down here. Alright, I'm going to add those in, see what else I have in my bag of tricks, and see if I can detail this out a little bit. Because once I get the building on, it'll come off, but I really don't want to have to take it off. Okay? So we'll go ahead and work on some of this detailing and before we actually build the rest of the building around it. So stay tuned. Alright, so I searched around on eBay and some other places for some benches, almost like church pews, for the interior of Union Station in the Great Hall. Because it was lined with benches for people to wait for their trains, etc. And I got to thinking, I had some of this strip angle that I said, I can cut this into sections and make some benches. So that's exactly what I did. I set up my chopper to a specified length. Right now it was set for the feet. And I just ran a couple strips of this angle through there and made these little benches. Okay. And then I could take 2 of them and make them back to back. Have back to back. So I have singles and back to back benches. Well, then what I did was I positioned them in the Great Hall. So let's take a look at that. And there we go. On the lower level, we have a bunch of the back-to-backs, and I've added some sitting people that I had. These were all left over from my bi-level commuter car project some months back when I added interior people and lighting. And so I've also added the sitting people. And then you may notice those little green things next to the benches. And what that was is just simply some dowel rod that I took some dowel rod and painted green. You can see the remnants there. And then ran it through the chopper. Okay. And these are trash can ashtrays. Now keep in mind my layout is circa late 60s, and back in those days practically everybody smoked. So the trash cans would have ashtrays on the top of them. Okay? So I had all these green, cut them and then placed them. And then came back with my chrome paint pen and painted the tops of them chrome so that the tops would be the ashtrays. And then placed those in and around the workbenches, and eventually by the doors or where the doors will be once it's fully assembled. Okay? So the only thing I'm missing now, as far as the detailing and stuff goes, for this stage anyway, and you can always add more and more and more details. But all I need is the standing people to place in and around the interior. All right. So with that, we've gone a little long on this video, so we're going to cut it off here. And the next update, besides painting people, because I do have a bunch of people to paint, and but then the next point will be to do the lighting and the final assembly. So with that, hang tight. Like always, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad 90 Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve. Y'all have a great day. Bye now.